everyone, it's Debbie with BookAndBuJo. Welcome if you're new, welcome back if you've been here before. Join me today as I do a flip through of all of my journals from 2025. I have my reading journal, which was from Archer and Olive, and this one I just used the one journal for the entire year. And then for the second half of 2025, I used my Archer and Olive kind of garden snake notebook, and for the first half was this beautiful nautical theme, also from Archer and Olive. This one's a B5 and A5, and then this one's an A4 or letter size. So let's go ahead and start from the top with my bullet journal from January to June. So I love this journal. It was so pretty, and it was really fun to work in it for the first half of last year. So of course I had to have a little bit of a travel theme at the beginning anyway. And I always put how many dots across and up and down at the front of my journal instead of doing a grid spacing guide for every journal. I tend to use this more often. I had my little pocket, which is where I placed all of my bookmarks and things, and then I do transfer those to every journal as I move on. Then I had my quote from Norman Vincent Peale: "Think positively and you set in motion positive results to pass." My verse of the year, which was arete, which means excellence, living up to one's potential. My verse of the year last year was Mark 9:23. Everything is possible for one who believes. My future log, my Q1 content calendar, and then my goals or life operating system. And the elemental system that I used for the life operating system is from Beth and Beyond, and I will leave her channel linked down below for you. And then goals bingo. My Q1 goals that I was planning out. Another quote from Fitzhugh Dodds: "Without goals and plans to reach them, you are like a ship that has set sail with no destination," which, I mean, sometimes is nice, but you don't want to just be adrift. And then January, so this was the year of the snake in 2025, so I had a snake pretty much in every single month somewhere, which was so much fun. I loved this one. It's just washi tapes. Kind of drew a snake and then filled it in with washi tape. And then this is kind of where I started the Dutch doors that I've kind of carried throughout. And then, of course, my calendar page with dashboard and events. Gratitude page. And, of course, always my habits and trackers. And this is kind of where I started doing my Devos and TBRs this way, and I'm still using them right now. I did kind of ditch this style of weather tracker, although it is kind of nice to be able to see it all at a glance. Maybe I'll go back to that. We'll see. And then another little quote that says, "Wishing you a prosperous year filled with clarity and growth, a year of grace, bringing balance and harmony to your life." And then my weeklies, which I did do little tabs on. And I have been carrying that throughout 2026 as well. And I did like how much space was in here. I could spread things out really well. More of a snake-style dragon for the February theme. And the quote from Eleanor Roosevelt: "What could we accomplish if we knew we could not fail?" Again, similar kind of Dutch door as January. And then this is also when I got these little snake stickers and started using those every month because those were so cool. This one I drew in though. Again, gratitude page. And I used kind of colors I don't typically use, which was kind of nice. It's good to use those because, I mean, you got those markers that come in a set that you just don't ever gravitate towards. And so I was trying to kind of use those in this setup. My weeklies again. Another quote, this one's from Buddha. If we could see the miracle of a single flower clearly, our whole life would change. Another one of these cool snakes. And then for March is more of a spring theme, but I still have my snake in here. And this quote is from Charles Dickens from his book, Great Expectations, which I still need to read, by the way. It was one of those March days when the sun shines hot and the wind blows cold, when it is summer in the light and winter in the shade. Again with the Dutch door. I didn't really utilize this little spot very well. I think I kind of forgot about it. I would have put a quote or something in there. So calendar page, gratitude, using up all my snakes, trackers, and I did the weather tracker a little bit different here on this one. I almost wish I would have done it more as a Dutch door and maybe had this on the other side and then cut that top part out and then just started over here with the weeklies, but I don't know. Things to think about for the continuing my 2026 setups. Again, more of my snakes and the weeklies. I need to get better at about actually doing a reflection page and this type of thing because I do really like it. I just tend to get busy at the end of the month and then to the new month that I just never go back and do it. April, a much more simplified theme for this one, kind of more of that nautical theme to go with the front of the notebook. Travel not to find yourself, but to remember who you've been all along. Love that quote. Again, my calendar page. There's my snake. Gratitude. Trackers. I thought this was beautiful. This sticker is from, and all the snakes are from Journal Say. And then this time I did my weeklies in almost like a book within a book, which was fun. And I did like that because on some of the other pages, there's a little, almost too much space. And then we have the final page, my weather tracker at the top and the bottom, so you could see it from any of the weeklies. I do like that. I just think in the smaller notebook, it's a little harder to achieve that one. And again, reflection, I kind of filled in what I was watching, and that's about it. So May, went back to the snake in the front, but did not do a Dutch door on this one. I almost wish I would have at least cut out a little bit around here, just to continue that, but this is nice too. Calendar page, journal page, more papers from Journal Say, and more of the snakes. Back to the trackers, and I continued with this little book within a book style for my weeklies and my weather tracker at the top and bottom. And then reflection, again, basically just keeping track of what I was watching, and that was about it. Content calendar for Q2 for last year. And then June, this one is the camping theme because of Camp Season-a-thon, and I went back to that little Dutch door for the cover page. Calendar, gratitude, and I was in the turquoise cabins, hence all of the turquoise style colors or shades. My trackers, and again I continued with the little Dutch door, but did this a little different, put it all at the top and then put events and action plans and things like that down at the bottom. Another quote from John Burroughs: I go to nature to be soothed and healed and to have my senses put in order. I love that one because that is just so true. I love being out in, not necessarily just in nature in general, I particularly like being out in a nice pine tree forest. A couple pages got stuck together there. I did a little better here with some of my favorites. And then nothing there. And then I was practicing some watercolor and had a lot of fun with this one. And then I did have plans to do another one here, even taped it all off, and then just never got back to it. And then that was it. So, I mean, I did a really good job with actually filling up my notebook. There was only 2 pages, pretty much. I guess 3 spreads that I did not actually use. So that is excellent. And then, of course, my little pocket with some paraphernalia that I used in here, bits and bobs and extras. And that was it for January to June. So let's go ahead and see what July through December looked like. All right, so went to continuing the snake theme, and we have my cover with this really cool snake here. I love this one. And then I do have my 2025 moon calendar in here, as well as a couple other little bookmarks that I did not carry through into the next journal. And a couple of quotes, one from John Dewey. We do not learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience, which is why I really want to get into reflection pages, and I just, for some reason, can't seem to get into them. And then from Anne Frank, what a wonderful thought it is that some of the best days of our lives haven't even happened yet. Beautiful. And again, carried over my word of the month, my verse, or my word of the year and verse of the year. And I do love this paper here. This one's from Journal Say again. And I do have a discount code with Journal Say, and it's code Debbie if you want to use that for 8% off your order. And it is combinable with any of their sales, and I will leave that link down below for you. Future log, goals. Again, something I'm not very good at setting specific goals. Content calendar for Q3. And then continuing with the little Dutch door theme, my mom and my aunt are crafty people. They do a lot of sewing and quilting and things like that. So I decided to do a little sewing theme to honor them. And I have a quote from ourmindfullife.com, and it says, "Hello, July. Just be you, because you are unique, worthy, and amazing. Live every day to the fullest, as you deserve all the good in life." My calendar page. And I loved all of these stickers. These are from Journal Say. It's a roll of PET tape that have all of these stickers you can cut out. They are so cute. Gratitude page. Again, had to have my snake. And then, of course, all of the accessories for sewing. My monthly trackers. And then we get into my weeklies, where I continued with this little book within a book style for my weeklies. It was a little bit harder this time. Takes up a little bit more room just because the notebook is a little smaller, but I think it still worked. And I got to continue using all of these cute little stickers from that PET tape. But it does take up a lot more pages this way. And I ended up not doing the separate weather tracker. I just kept track of it on each specific day. Did a little better with my favorites here. And then we move into August. And this is the spread where I got to use my Q-Fun laminator, which is so much fun. And I made this really cool window for my cover page, and able to see into either of the papers from either side, which was really fun. I really enjoyed that one. And then I made another little window here to see the little owls, which was super cute, from my calendar page. And then we have gratitude page, and then all of my monthly trackers. And then another little one here, which you can see into either space. This one, the execution wasn't as good for adhering it into the notebook. The window itself was fine, but I didn't leave enough space to really attach it to my notebook. So that's something I learned, and we'll take that lesson into further creative works. So then we go into just normal weeklies, which is kind of where I've been doing them lately, but I think maybe for June, maybe I'll go back to the ones I had been doing before, the like little book within a book, because those are fun. And then again, another little snake, and some more really cool papers and stickers and stuff from Journal Say. Then we move into September. Ah, September, you are the doorway to the season that awakens my soul. for all of those fall lovers out there. And this one's more of just a plaid theme. Got my snake again. More trackers. Gratitude page. The rest of my trackers. And then I did do a little bit of a Dutch door here for my weeklies. And had to get my snake in there again. This gave me a little bit more space, but still had fun with being able to cut out a Dutch door. And then October, I did like this theme very much. Again, all of these papers are from Journal Say. Love the moon. And I wanted to do the waterfall tabs in here. So I have my calendar, gratitude page, and these really cool washi tapes. 3 of them here are from Archer and Olive. They're the glow-in-the-dark ones. Movement trackers, and then my monthly trackers. I loved these stickers. And then we have my dashboard, and then my weeklies. And I did the same as I did the month previous for September and just cut out the bottom instead of the top couple of rows. But I didn't really do enough down here to make that really work. So that's something I can use as a takeaway from this one. Do a little bit something more down here would have looked nicer. And of course, Edgar Allan Poe, all that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. And again, had to have my snake in there. And then this actually is from Archer and Olive. I just cut out the middle portion of it, and that middle portion I did use earlier as well here to make kind of a coffin on this page. And that was my favorites page. Then we had my Q4 planner, and then November, I saw this theme from lunar.inspiration, and I will leave her channel link down below as well. And just had so much fun with it. I want to say hers was more of a quilting theme, but I just loved the colors and the mushrooms. I got to pull out my wax seals and just had a lot of fun with all of the mushrooms for this month. And again, my trackers. And then this time I utilized the Dutch door a little better and just cut the side here, and I did like that better than the previous 2 months where I just did a little strip at the top and bottom, but then didn't really do anything with those spots. So yeah, I love this, how I had just one space for this, like a really cool paper or something to put in there. Yeah, loved that. There's another one here, and was able to use up some of my ephemera paper for those too. I think I may do that a little bit more going forward as well. So do this, but also so instead of having a full week, have a space like this, and then also have an empty space somewhere to put notes or whatever I may need in there. So kind of like this, where I have this little sticker here, but I could still write in stuff in here. So like priorities or things like that, notes and thoughts. And then my favorites, and again, another little snake. And then we have December, which I ended the year the same way I started, with a little Dutch door at the cover page. And I did have one of those little scrapbooking hole punches that I borrowed from my mom and my aunt to do the little decorative corners. And this one is more just kind of a blue theme. Calendar and gratitude page. I do like this washi. It's really pretty, from Archer and Olive. And we have my exercise trackers and monthly trackers here. These were all the books that I read throughout the month. And then we have my check-ins, which I did actually do a little bit of that. Filled in some of that. And then I was trying out a little routine tracker here just to see if there was any of those that I needed to track a little bit more to get into a routine. And then again, my Dutch door weeklies, and I continued with the little paper in there to add a little decorative touch. Had to have my snake in there again. And then I got to use my wax seal one last time and put a quote in where the Dutch door was, and that's, "Let your heart emerge as the wild things do with the return of the light," from Love to Know. Had a little bit of extra wax for my wax seal because it didn't get all the way up there, so I just kind of put some here, and I thought it worked okay. And then we had the movies of Christmas that we watched. And then some planning for my next notebook and my reading journal. My Q4 goals. And then that was it. So I just had the one page on this one that I didn't really use. And not much in my pocket either. So that one was a lot of fun. And I want to say, I think this one is probably one of my favorite themes. I just really liked that one. And I did really like the October kind of gothic theme as well. I loved the font that I used here, and I got that from 1000 Fonts. And I liked that I kind of went out of my comfort zone with a couple of the themes as well, and trying some new things and not caring whether they worked or not, just as experience to try them, which was great. All right, now we move into my reading journal. But before we do that, let me know, what was your favorite theme from my 2 journals, January through June and July through August? I'd love to find out. And if there's a theme you'd like to see me do, let me know that as well. I do love this journal, but I did use it so much that I did break the spine on this one. Pretty well there. it's yeah, it came completely off. I do still want to try and glue that back together, but for now, there it is. So I had my TBR treasure map here, which I got from Jashi Curran, and I will leave her channel link down below as well. And a little thing to put extra book covers that I didn't end up using, or printing off multiple when I didn't realize I hadn't added one I already had in there. And it's had bookish goals, and then over here my 25 and 2025, which was pretty good. I got about half of them done. My D20, a little over half for those. Nonfiction, I only read 2 of the ones that were actually on my list. And for classics, I only read 3. So, well, 4. But there we go. I have read 2 of these since then, so that's good. My prime reading, Adventures in Aldia. I have buzzword, cover and title prompts, and of course a 52 book club, which I did complete both of those. Horror bingo, or Our Fantasy bingo card, which I did complete. I just completed them in 2026 reading journal instead, since it carries over through March of 2026. That's where I finished it off. And we have the Horror Bingo Readathon, which I also completed that one. And that was the 2024 to 2025 one. Year of Goober and TBR Knockout and Sufferathon. I did kind of make it up through October, and then I forgot to log the rest of them. I do have them in the monthlies, just not here. My bookshelves, which turned out really well. Got them all nice and full. And then here is the list of the books that I read. And I had to add some extra little tip-ins for that because I read a lot. 298 last year. Now, a lot of them are small. There were quite a few books that were under 100 pages, and of course, quite a few graphic novels and mangas. Yeah, that was a lot. Okay, Bible reading tracker. I thought it turned out really well. I got to have it nice and spread out in this really big journal, and I was able to put my memory verses in here as well. And then all the books that I read on my Kindle in 2025, trying to read down all of the books on my Kindle, which is really good. There's a few that I missed that I just never got to, and still haven't read any of those 3. But the rest of them are good. These are kind of the ones I was thinking of reading, and I got to a handful of them. 5-star reads. I ended up not really utilizing this as much as I wanted. Book clubs. And then we started in on January. I don't know if I really did a lot of themes. I just used a lot of the ephemera that I found in Reading Time ephemera book that I had gotten for Christmas from my sister. So like the glasses here and these and this. And I kind of used these as my theme, I guess you could say. Something to work around. And these ones here too. And these ones were so much fun. Had all the readathons that I was doing every month. And then we moved into February. Here's another one that I thought was beautiful and fit so well in this size notebook. And this is where I started, this year is where I started doing the tracking of books read, like how I read them. I didn't really like how this came out, so I'm much happier with the way I'm doing it now. TBRopoly, book clubs. I did read both of these books, just not in that month. And then we have March, my calendar stats page. I'm kind of rethinking how I'm doing the stats page. So 2025, I didn't keep up with it very well. I'm doing better with it in 2026 though. My TBRopoly, which I did complete. And then readathons that I did. So this is where Realmathon and Spring Into Reading happened. And then again, stats in 2025 just didn't really happen. Calendar page, my TBRopoly, which I did finish this one the following month, but I did finish it. And then readathons, and this one was so much fun. So this was Tome Infinity and Beyond Readathon, which is so much fun to participate in. I hope they do it again. Draconathon, which is always a blast, reading dragon books. And then of course the Magical Readathon for April. So my one character was Master of Elements and Feywild Cartography, and she did graduate from that and is now working on her higher calling. And then we have Bard and Hearthkeeper, a couple extras I put in there just cause. And then Karasu also graduated as Godseer and Scribe. All the Excavationist as well. And then we have Library of Dragons, which I know she is taking a bit of a pause for the Library of Dragons, so we won't have the next one coming up quite yet. And then for May, again, no stats. My TBRopoly, book clubs, and readathons. And this was where Gooberathon happened, which was also so much fun, and we're currently in the middle of Gooberathon right now. May the Force Read With You with Eric from Break Even Books, again, in the middle of this one. This one I was a Wookiee, and I was a Divine Noble in the Ambassadors Guild. And then I just had so much fun with all of these papers from Journals Day. I had to make a spread just for this. And then for June, again, this was the Camp Seasonathon, Readathon month. And I was part of the Turquoise Cabin. And again, no stats. But TBRopoly was so big, I had to make a little tip-in for the last pages of it. Or for the last few rolls. And then, again, book clubs, read-alongs, readathons. Here was another read-along there, or a readathon there. And then we had Camp Seasonathon. And TBR Trail. This is when I joined TBR Trail, which it's now TBR Trek is what it's called now. And I am on Team Dryad. Library of Dragons. And then I ended up not doing this one. I started planning it out and then I got stuck in one spot and didn't continue. But I did get the first 6. And then dashboard again for the next month, which would be July. And I thought this sticker was just stunning. I love this. One of my favorites. And this one too. All 3 of these. These are definitely my vibe. Kind of fairy cottagecore, I guess you could say. This goes along really well with that theme also. My TBRopoly, book clubs and such, and then Herkiad. I kind of stopped tracking it in this one. I've just been doing it digitally, but I am getting close. So if you see, I will have 2 more of these complete by the end of April, and then hopefully by May I will have 1 more of these done. We'll see. But I did pretty good with keeping up with it in this journal. I think there's 3 books I could put on here for my Challenge Yourself. It was the anthologies, and I just read the Bengali story. I didn't read the entire anthology. And that was kind of my way to tweak the challenge so that I have more chance of actually completing it. And again, I've got most of these done. And I've got just a couple more on some of these. So here I did finish at least one more of these ones of the Even Bigger Queer Alphabet. I have March done for new releases, and I'm working on May's. And then we have the Even Bigger Rainbow here. These ones I have done already, and I did complete the animals and almost done. Oh no, I did complete Air as well. So the Avatar, I just need to put these ones in here. So Become the Avatar is also done. Yay! Okay, and then we move into August with more of a cozy fairy cottagecore vibe, I guess you could say. It's the cozy vibe. And I do like how I was doing these, but I again like how I'm doing it now a little better, and I will show you that. So how I'm doing it now is on the blank days I have just the same color that goes throughout, and the other days I'm coloring it in for every day that I read it. So let me go through one that's a little sooner here. So here's April. So like I didn't read this book on these days, so those aren't colored in, but then the days that I did read it are colored in, and then the rest are just kind of a neutral color just to add a little pop of color to the page so it's not all white. So I am liking how I'm doing this better now. And then again, stats. I actually drew in all the stats this time. I just didn't actually put any of the information in there. TBRopoly, so I did finish my Crochet Dragon, and I did finish A Time of Dread, but just not this month. And then we have more read-alongs and readathons and other fun things like that in here. And then we move into September. Again, completed, which is good. More of these beautiful papers. And then we had Scientific September, which I love. It is so much fun. I hope that she continues to host this one every September. And of course, we also have a lot of other fun readathons that happened in September. And then of course we have Readathon Rebellion. And these were all the prompts that were in here that we had to go through to get through everything. And of course, Season-a-thon Academy was in September as well with Completely Melanie. And then we have the Magical Readathon. And this does show that my character graduated. There's her diploma. And there's Karasu's diploma. And I ended up creating 2 new characters to go along with. And there's both of them. And they are continuing on with their callings right now. Then we had October. I did do my stats. I actually did some stats in October. I filled it all in, figured it all out, and there we go. My calendar of books read, of course, TBRopoly. So October, I was with it. Things were happening. Book clubs. We had the Long Walk with Readathon with the Book as Drummer. If This Switch Reads. TBR Harvest. There were so many fun things that happened in October. We had the Pumpkin Patch with Leandra, the TBR Zero for all of these. The Spooktober Readathon, which was also very fun. That's with the Readers C. And Relax and Readathon with the Reading Nymph. So many readathons with Gothtober, the Bewitched Spellbook. This one was with Erin Smith. And this was Olivia's Catastrophe. And then we also had, I never quite got into here. I was writing it so small in here. And then I was like, oh yeah, I have this page I can use too. But by then, it's okay. It was all done. So there we go. I did escape, but not until after the readathon was over. I still had like 2 books I had to read afterwards. But it was very fun. Fablin with the Word Nerd. That was the first time I've participated in Fablin, and I've been watching it from afar, longing to do it, and I finally did it in October of 2025. And then we move into November. I actually did my stats again in November, which was great. And then all of the books I read, my TBRopoly. I did finish this book, To Green Angel Tower Storm. I DNF'd Finnegan's Wake, but I think that's going to come up again for another book club, so I may get into it a little bit more, see if I think I got 100-something pages into it, see if I can get another 100 or so into it. I did finally read A Time of Blood, but it was not in this month. And this one was more of an academia theme. My read-alongs that I participated in. We had The Jungle Adventure with Pages with Paige. And then Danny Dabbles had the Bucket Listathon, which was a lot of fun as well. And then we go into December, which I did not do stats. So I had 2 months that I did stats in 2025. And then all the books that I read, of course. TBRopoly. I am still working on Skyfire. I keep putting it down and shoving it aside to finish library books that are due. But I need to stop getting the library books and just finish this one because I am really loving the story and I want to actually finish reading it. Time of Courage, I decided to DNF the series and am not going to worry about reading that one. If I can get to it, then maybe. Year-long readathons. Book Quest was in here. We just had a little bingo. And that's with Amanda from the Reading and Writing Life. And then, of course, Merry Bookmas with Completely Melanie, part of Season-a-thon. And then the Reindeer Readathon with Eric from Break Even Books. And that one is always so much fun. I have done it almost every year it came out. I think I missed the first couple times, but I've been doing it ever since then. The Relax and Readathon again with the Reading Nymph. Back to Kindle with Readers C. And Reading with Rylan. And then here's all the prompts for this readathon. Lightfall, again from Gia Book Roast. Library of Dragons. And then just some notes and planning. Also some things I was going to do that I never got to. Horror Bingo Readathon for 2025 to 2026. I did start it here, but I have since moved it into this journal. So I have it here. And then that's it. And then just a bunch of notes. So all of my TBRopolies that I write down here, I keep track of those and then I stick them in the back pocket when I am done. And then these, I think, are some ideas I had that I never got around to doing anything with, but I keep them around for ideas. So that is all of my journals from 2025. Definitely got to have the band on it for this one because that poor notebook really got a lot of love. I used the heck out of this thing. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me as I flipped through my journals from 2025. And again, I would love to find out what was your favorite theme from all of my journals. And if you made it this far in the video, and you get to choose which emoji you would like to leave in the comments to let me know that you are here. Either a snake, some kind of pen, or some kind of anchor in honor of my 3 notebooks that I used in 2025. And I look forward to seeing you when I flip through all of my 2026 journals as well. And until next time, keep planning. Bye!